The opening round of the 2022 Coupe Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship is proudly brought to you by CTFD Group and these loyal partners. Taking the first pole position for the season, it's Steve Lacey in the Lederer Group Camaro. He's been able to hold off a charge by Chris Jackson and some great times from the rest of the field. We caught up with Steve before the start of the weekend.
Yeah, pole position's a great way to get into the start of the year. Obviously the end of last year was a bit tough for us, and the problems we had at Phillip Island, and then we didn't make the last round at Wakefield. So it'd be nice just to start the whole season fresh on pole. Conditions were a bit treacherous with the oil down in the previous group. They put down the sand for that. The boys obviously spread a fair bit around for us before we got out, but it was still, the racing lines were not perfect. Very happy with the time. In fact, quite surprised with the gap to the next car. So tells us the car's very well hooked up. It's just unfortunate that Brad didn't get off and get a time. Obviously Chris is on the money, he's come in at second, and the rest of the guys will just, a bit rusty maybe and just get going with it, but we're all a bit off the pace compared to where we would have been, but I think the weather's got something to play with that, the track conditions, but overall very happy. We're hoping that it'll be another dry one, but for us being a small crew, unfortunately it takes us about 20 minutes to change them over, and plus the dummy grid, so you've got a long way out, you've got to predict, and things change so quickly here.
So securing pole position, but unfortunately unable to take the start of the race. Steve Lacey not out there for this opening race of the weekend for the Coupe Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship, proudly brought to you by the CTFD Group here at Wakefield Park. We've got a good field of cars, Gary, as they launch off up the hill.
Unfortunately, Mark Duggan didn't quite make the start, went out on the track, and very slow lap before he managed to get it back to the pits. Out of the race as well is Brad Shiels, the 2021 New South Wales Sports Sedan champion. That car had an engine drama. They've gone back to Sydney to see if they can do an engine swap. And also Willem Fercher, who was the last round winner here late last year, broke an input shaft in practice on Friday.
So a few of the top cars not there, but still we're going to see plenty of action and battles. You can see here Glenn Pro all over the back of Nick Mantikos. Now Nick we're used to seeing in a Datsun 1600, and he's now out there in a Mark II Mustang, a little bit more pace right up towards the front of the field.
Yeah, you may recognise this, anyone that knows the Mark cars. It was green the last time we seen it in the hands of Adam Hargraves. He's put in an order for a new car, which is going to be based on the Mercedes C63 with a LS3 engine in, or LS2, one of the two. But plenty going on here as Birol now tries to get the lead off Chris Jackson. Good to see Chris Jackson back and at the pointy end of the field. Yeah,
that CSJ engineering car has had a lot of development. Chris has had some time away, but now coming back with some great racecraft. We're used to seeing him up towards the front. He just got a little bit of a slide on down the hill. He touched that ripple strip on the outside, and of course still a little bit greasy here at Wakefield after those rains we've had around New South Wales. They're broken for the weekend though, so good to see some dry racing at the moment.
Yeah, and you can see Chris Jackson is pushing really hard there, locking up brakes and having a bit of tyre smoke coming off the Calibra, as we now see Birol Chetin go into the lead in the Pro IT Chev Camaro.
That was a great move.
Yeah, it was. Well, I think he's seen it set up going into that in turn two, and just took it on. We have more going on. That's what we see from inside Chris Jackson's car as the lead is getting taken away.
Great drive from Birol Chetin, and this is where he wants to be. He needs to pick up those championship points, because without Steve Lacey out there, without Brad Shiels out there, this is the opportunity for all of these guys to sort of put down some good racecraft and pick up those points that hopefully, if you can have that consistency through the season, you'll be able to take home the championship.
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Being consistent over all rounds of the championship. We're looking back here at the Division 3 runners.
Spitteri's there, and Theo Camburis right behind him in the blue Commodore. Dave Atkin in the BMW just holding station behind them as well. They've put a lot of work into that car in the off-season. I know Dave wasn't that happy with how it performed at the end of 2021, and hoping for 2022 to breed some better results for him.
Well, it wasn't finishing races.
Yeah.
Originally had a BMW engine in it, now it's got a LS Chev motor in it, and seems to have made all the difference. Certainly a lot more reliable car than what it was in the past. And at the moment, he's right in this contest.
It's good to see this BL Commodore, of course, V8 powered, trying to chase down Spitteri in the Evo 6, the Brindabella Bathrooms car. The Evo 6 four-wheel drive, turbo. It's able to just launch out of the corners here at Wakefield. Works hard, but then on the straights, Theo's right with him.
Yeah, of course, they're battling for second in Division 3 because Rod Moynihan well up the road in front in what would be the best performance we've seen from that Commodore driver as well.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, isn't he? Then we go further back and we see here Pillars, and down the inside goes Gessler. Gessler in the orange and black BMW. He's got a couple of BMWs, or used to have a couple of BMWs. I'm not sure how many he's got left now in the stable.
Well, that one's got a BMW motor in it as well.
Yeah, so getting out and having some good racing. You can just see the sprinkles have started on track. So after saying that rain has stayed away, we've now got a little bit of greasy weather out there for the end of this opening race of the weekend.
Oh, we've got Jackson off. Now, it looks like the little Datsun there's been involved in that as well. That's the car of Hayden Nessie.
See what happens here as Jackson goes to the inside.
Yes, went to go out the inside of him. They've made contact, and Jackson tries to get back on up the top of the field. They'll lose him a couple of spots.
Yeah. See it on board here from Jackson. You can see he just goes to the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, just
Turned
bed
in
in the
on
middle.
him.
Yeah. Unfortunate where there's just, you're trying to get through. Jackson's under pressure from Nolan behind, and this man, Nick Mantikos, who you can see on screen. So he's lost a position to Nolan. There's a bit of damage down the right-hand side of the car, so he'll just be trying to, I suspect, manage that to the end of this race. He knows there's only a few laps left in it, and see if he can be able to still bring it home and collect some championship points. Mantikos will see his opportunity here to take a position away. As Jackson's looped it. I think the left rear is let go,
Yeah, and that's dropped him a spot. He did well to get back in third position on the road, but that's now dropped him to fourth, and yep, there it goes around.
Mantikos good aware driving to not collect Jackson on his way through. It was the right rear that let go, and that brought out the safety car you can see on screen for this opening race of the weekend. And unfortunately, that would be the way we end the race. So Birol Chetin taking home the victory in this first race of the weekend for the Coupe Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship, proudly brought to you by CTFD Group. Daniel Nolan, Nick Mantikos, Glenn Pro and Rod Monahan rounding out your top 5 here at Wakefield Park. We'll have more racing action from the Coupe Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship after the break.
Race 2 about to get underway, and now we see Chetin and Nolan, the first two out there. Back in this field, Lacey at the back. They had a fuel problem in the earlier race, and that's why he didn't start. We also know that Duggan's there. They had an alternator, a throttle sensor. Have a drama with that car, and that's why they couldn't get any throttle at all. And Nick Smith's out there as well. We failed to mention him. He didn't start the first race, but he's back to have a run around at the back of the field. He's obviously getting this car ready for the Nationals.
Yeah, he's looking to have a good run this year. Of course, it was another one who had a few dramas in 2021, but sports sedans can be temperamental at the best of times. You can just see the fluoro yellow of Nick Smith in the back of this group as Duggan and Lacey charge their way through the Division 3 runners. Not unexpected, but still carving their way through in breezy conditions here. Sunday morning at Wakefield Park. A little bit of rain overnight. Not much, not enough to really dampen the track, but enough to make sure that still those white lines and ripple strips you want to stay away from.
Yeah, someone had a big lock-up down at turn 10. We're just seeing a plume of smoke from inside Lacey's car as he's trying to find a way around Duggan at this stage. But it'll be interesting to see how this car goes for the rest of the year. We'll talk about the Aston Martin, of course. And as they head back up the hill, and Lacey takes that spot away. So in the performance stakes, not a lot of difference between the two cars.
Lacey got the line and just pulled past.
Yeah, and I think Lacey's a bit more determined after his DNF out of the first race. Yeah. He is very much a champion contender. Not that Duggan isn't, but I think Duggan's thinking wider and longer into the National Series. And I dare say that Lacey's probably going to do rounds of the National Series as well. And there we see Lacey there taking another spot, and you can see there's not too many cars in front of him now.
No, he's definitely working his way right to the front of the field. He's got to chase down this man, Nick Mantikos. Glenn behind him, Glenn Pro. There they are, just in front of Lacey. You saw him flash through the back of shot. But if you want to see national sports sedans, they will be at Sydney Motorsport Park later on in the season. So check out the website for the New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship as they join that championship later on in the year. Glenn Pro holding station. Lacey's got to the inside of him though. And you'll just see here the Camaro power pass. Just a little bit more ponies under the hood than the Toyota Supra. Of course, turbocharged car, that one makes some beautiful noise around the circuit.
It does, yeah, and turbocharged cars, sometimes they don't because all the exhaust gas are going back in, being fed back into the turbo, but he's got this sorted. Now he takes Mantikos as they go down to turn 1, just falls past him. Mantikos is taking this very steadily this meeting. First time out in the car, he doesn't want to damage it or anything. It's a big step up from what he's been used to racing, and he's doing a fairly good job.
He is doing a fantastic job, isn't he, as he comes up over the hill. He's lost a bit of ground to Lacey, but Lacey is on a tear here. You can see he's using all of the road, just trying to chase Nolan down. Oh, he's taken too much ripple strip on the inside, and he's flicked the car into the grass. He was lucky not to actually catch that little divot that was there as well and cause more damage to the car. Take a look at it on board, Gary. Just a little bit too much greasy ripple strip.
Well, yeah, you think that'd be a tyre, i.e. like the Jackson incident in the previous race, but he's rejoined. He's done the whole loop and gone back out in turn 3 again.
He's given himself a joker lap. If he was in rallycross, he's just given himself a little bit extra to do. So Lacey will now have to put the head down. Look at the front of it, just filled with mud. So hopefully that thing doesn't overheat before he can bring it home, because of course they only ever run just enough venting to keep it on the cool side, and that's it. No extra, no nothing. So he'll have to manage that to the end of this race as Nick Smith starts making his way through these Division 3 cars. He's obviously given himself a little bit of time, make sure the car's good, make sure everything feels healthy, and then now start to put the hammer down in the Ramsey group car.
Yeah, and he's not far behind Duggan at this stage either. So Moynihan, of course, won Division 3 in the earlier race, and you can see he's leading Cambulis and Spiteri again in this one. But now he's right on the back. I'm talking about Nick Smith there, and this is a great battle in Division 3. They're the top 3 cars, and as you can see, they're hardly separated at all.
That will no doubt close up as well as we start to head towards the back end of this race. Once everybody starts finding their rhythm, if you're close to somebody, there's that little incentive to just try a little bit harder, try a little bit harder. So we'll have to see what happens there as Nick Smith has closed the gap to Mark Duggan in the Duggan Family Hotels Aston Martin. We'll see what he can do in this RX-7. Of course, we saw Smith take it to Brad Shiels in a couple of rounds last year, so we know how strong this car can be. He should be able to fight his way past, you'd have to expect.
Well, FJ20 turbocharged car's got plenty in a straight line.
Yeah.
This car has been fickle in the past, though. It's had a major fire at Sydney Motorsport Park last year, and it took a long time to build. It looks like he's off.
I was going to say, it looks like it's just become fickle again,
Yeah,
Gary. Unfortunate for Nick.
And it is fast, but it, as I said, it had dramas, and they've been spending a lot of time rebuilding that car from that fire.
Yep.
And here's his battle now. Cambulis is ahead of Moynihan. Oh, and you can see Smith has just had a bit of a lose. That's up at turn 4 by the look of it.
Yeah, coming on the run down the hill, so he's obviously got a little bit wide and just looped the car. He's staying off the racing line as best he can, but you've got to cross it to get back on from that position. He refires up, but I'm not sure Nick Smith will take any further part in the race after that one. Obviously a drama that's causing him to not be able to keep it on the black stuff as well as he would like, and now Spiteri charges past Moynihan, so that's a position for him. He now needs to try to chase down Camburis, who's been in front of him or around him the whole weekend so far.
Yeah, and who's coming up behind him as well.
Yeah, Steve Lacey, who's lost all those positions after that spin, so now needs to regain them all again. Shouldn't take too long to get himself back past. Sure enough, here he goes, straight through. Well, Spiteri with a bit of a lock-up, getting a bit excited to try to get to the back of Theo Camburis, you'd have to expect. And we'll see if Spiteri can do anything in that Brindabella car. Of course, we see this car race across multiple categories, multiple events, gets a lot of use.
Yeah, Trevin
always does well
runs it in improved production, but and Lacey off again. I think there's more to this one. It's just not a lose.
It's smoke from the front
well,
right.
that's only off the
tyre
brakes,
on
of course.
Yeah, grass, we'll see what happens. He just doesn't turn in. So it just doesn't turn left for him at turn 3. So I'd suspect that he's had some sort of failure in the front, in the steering.
Yeah, no, more like a puncher from that earlier spin. Maybe he had a slow deflation as a result of that. But anyway, we go back green again after the safety car, and they just moved that Camaro up to the top of the track. Here we go again, and you can see it's Chetin leading the way from Nolan in second spot, Mantikos in third, then it's Nolan and Duggan, the next two, Pro and Duggan, the next two.
Have a look at this though, 4 cars line astern trying to chase down Birol Chetin. It's good to see at the end of the race, even though it's a safety car that's sort of brought them back together, the racing is so intense still that these guys stay together towards the end of the race, because of course in the Division 1 cars they tend to be a lot more finely strung, and by the end of even a sprint race you're nursing the car to the finish more than trying to attack and apply thumb
And
screws.
Duggan goes underneath Pro at turn 10. the other interesting thing is we've got an assortment of different style of cars too. We've got space frame cars, chassis cars, and of course the Marc car, which is different again.
Last lap board is out, so one more time around the circuit for this second race of the weekend with the Coupe Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship, brought to you by CTFT Group this weekend. And Glenn Pro straight off at turn 2. I'd say he locked the front right and just could not arrest the speed there.
Come in a bit quick, you think?
Very, very hot. Nolan's closed the gap to Chetin at this lap.
I think Chetin is just consolidating. It doesn't have to need to do anything. You can always pull away in a straight line. And come around the last corner now, you can see it's Chetin in front, it's Nolan second, Mantikos will hold on to third, and Duggan will be fourth. Pro may hold on to fifth, or does he? Does, ahead of Cambulis. Dave Aiken in his best result got a 7th.
And you got Rod Monahan, Graham Smith and John Spiteri rounding out the 10. This second race of the weekend, proudly brought to you by CTF Green Group for the Coupe Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship. More action after the break. Welcome back to the Coupe Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship, proudly brought to you by CTFT Group this weekend for the opening round of the season. Final race of the weekend, and Blue Sun's shine is on the circuit. Gary, it should be a pretty good race for these guys.
Well, Duggan's got back right up the second spot off the line, and at the back of the field, Lacey's back. It was a puncher on that, but actually the tyre was off the rim. It was that bad. Smith retired from the earlier race with some overheating dramas, so he's back for this one as well. Again, it's a little bit of a testing session, and you can see Lacey just threading the needle there as he gets past a couple of Division 3 guys.
Check out this run to turn 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, just going down the inside. Cambulis is leading Division 3 there, and he's passed him before they've got to turn 3.
Steve Lacey just continuing this charge down the inside of Glenn Pro at the end of the lap. He's going to pick up Nick Mantikos as well. So he has found himself in, what, 4th place by the end of lap 1 after a stellar drive down through turns 1 and 2. Nick Smith following him through as well, probably just taking it a little bit more easy. Nick, he just wants to make sure that he does not put any damage on this car. The last thing he needs is to be spending time working on the car between rounds. He pulls his way past Theo Camburis, who really is not going to fight him there. There's no need to have that battle. Look at the closing speed, though, to Dave Atkin as well. It shows you the difference between the divisions, doesn't it?
It does, and divisions are worked out on lap times, not the type of car. And he's got dramas again. Well, very slow getting around Aiken. Of course, Dave Aiken is the Coupe Tyre man. As you can see, he's got Coupe tyres. He's the supplier for the category. And so he's a busy boy for the weekend, fitting up tyres as well as prepping his own car.
Yeah, but he loves it, and he's a great supporter of the New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship. We thank him and Coupe Tyre for all that they do for this championship. It's really helped bring it along in leaps and bounds. Speaking of leaps and bounds, Steve Lacey getting past Daniel Nolan with no problem there at the final corner almost half a lap ago, and now charging after Duggan down the hill. This is 3rd place in the race. He's looking at 2nd. Wants to get himself back up there to Birol Chetin. We've seen some great battles between those 2 yellow Camaros over the years, and I dare say we're in set for another one now.
Well, the good thing about it, there's no love lost on the track. They get on all right off the track, but on the once they're out on the bitumen there's no love lost at all, and they really put it on. And this is looks like it's going to liven up that way as well. Although Mark Duggan might have a say in this, and he's quite content to stay there in 2nd. And this is where we've seen him pass the last time, where Lacey got up outside, which would have been the inside to here, and then made the move stick, and he's going to do it. Turn 4. He did it turn 3 in the last race, but he's doing it turn 4 this one.
How was the dive across the track as well? As soon as he saw that little gap open, he was in it, and he filled it right up with yellow Camaros, so Duggan knew he couldn't turn in. As we take a look at the Brindabella Motorsport car getting very loose as he tries to chase down the Commodore in front, which is the 95 of Graham Smith. So that is, in some regards, the sister car to Rod Monahan. The 2 of them
they're quite close together.
Yeah.
But this weekend so far, Monahan has been well down the road ahead of Smith. And you can see Spiteri having a problem getting past him, and the previous 2 races well ahead. And here's Aiken in front of Cambulis. So Aiken actually leads Division 3 at this point.
Oh, Nick Smith's slow.
Yeah, not for long, no. Unfortunately, as Cambulis now. That's a space frame car, of course, but its lap times dictate that it does reside in Division 3, whereas we see the chassis car of Aiken in behind him, the BMW. Of course, it probably doesn't owe a lot now to a production BMW, but it's still based on the body shell, etc. of Berry Motorworks.
So Nick Smith slowing in the back of shot there as well. So unfortunate dramas looking for his car as we take a look at the leaders. And Lacey has closed the gap hand over fist. He's now all over the rear bumper and diffuser of Birol Chetin's Pro IT Camaro. So Steve Lacey looking for any way through in the letter group version. You can see just slightly different tweaks to the aero of those two cars, and they just make a little bit of different speed in the corners to each other as well because of them.
Yeah, and probably Lacey a little bit more fired up to at least get a result out of the day. He's got better tyres too because they've done less kilometres than what Chetin's has, and Chetin's already won the round. He can finish second and it won't be a problem. So I think his modus operandi will be while stay in front while he can, and if he can't, let him go, and that's exactly what he's done there. So Steve Lacey, it's been a good drive coming from the back of the field all the way to the front. Let's hope it hangs there for the rest of the race.
It was a big move down there in turn 1 and 2. He got late on the brakes, moved the car and got to the inside as Duggan pulls to the grass, and that will bring out a safety car. So another problem for the Duggan Family Hotel Aston Martin. Not the way that they wanted their season to start, and unfortunately that brings out the safety car and leaves us with a couple of lap dash. Birol Chetin just stuck between Gessler and himself, Steve Lacey.
And of course, well, Lacey's now clear and in a good position. Here we look at Pro in the Supra again.
I think he just went around the outside of Nolan at 2 to take that position away. So opportunistic from Pro as he now looks on the back of Mantikos, and now Smith is off the road as he tries to give them all a bit of room. So sometimes the division cars giving a little bit more room than they actually have, and just find their way slightly onto the dirt. So
it's always complicated. What a great dice this is now. This is for third spot.
Yep.
And Nolan trying to get up the inside of Pro out of turn 8. Look at that. It's congestion plus. So go through turn 9 on the back straight there. This will tell the fast cars from the slow ones, and there we see Nolan go through on Pro, takes that spot away. Negotiating Geisler at the same time can be a bit of a problem because they've got no choice. Where can they go in some respects?
They have to stay there, and you can just see Pro shakes the head because he got a little bit too much wheel spin out of the final corner, just eager on the throttle to try to battle back against Nolan. Great fight between a lot of them as we look down the field as well and see Spiteri sliding through turn 2 as he tries yet again to pass Monahan on the run up the hill. I don't think he's going to get there, and he hasn't. He's tried the outside line at 3. It's not going to work at 4. Monahan puts a lot of lean into the Commodore across the top, holds it on the circuit, and that'll probably end that battle as well. But out in front, Steve Lacey is going to take what is going to be actually a comfortable victory in the end after a 2-lap screamer to the finish. Birol Chetin is going to be able to bring it home in second place and win the round. Steve Lacey taking, of course, the trophy race for us this weekend in the Coupe Tyre New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship. Proudly brought to you by CTFT Group. Nick Mantikos, Daniel Nolan and Glenn Pro rounding out your top 5. We caught up with Birol Chetin, the round winner, in the pits after the event.
Yeah, that was good. We won race 1 and race 2. Obviously for race 3 we didn't have the best tyres, and we sort of settled for second and won the first round. I'm wrapped, and I'm happy for the teams and everyone else, and that's all we wanted, win the round.
Did you have thoughts of trying to keep Stevie at bay there when he got close to you?
Well,
you did hold him up for a few
I did hold him up, but I'm not the one who's going to block people, so if he's faster than me, he can go past and then I'll have a go at him. I did, and then the safety car came out. Unfortunately, there was a lap car in between, so that didn't help at all. And we just basically settled for second. The car was good. The car was faultless all weekend. Thanks to my sponsors, which is Pro IT and Billy's Motorsports. And yeah, we had a good weekend. Hopefully we'll go good again in the next one. Reliability is the way to go.
That's all we have for the Coupe Tyres New South Wales Sports Sedans Championship opening round, proudly brought to you by CTFT Group this weekend. The championship now moves to Sydney Motorsport Park across April 9th and 10th for round 2. Make sure to get out there and check out some great racing. Have a look at their website for more details. Until next time, I'm Daniel Beckersale. Joining me was Gary O'Brien.